Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com. Today I'm here with our beloved teacher, Victor, and we're going to talk about career, vocational astrology, and finances. Hello, Victor.
Hi, Lada. Hi, everyone.
Thank you for
Today,
joining.
my screen is a little bit blurry. It took 40 minutes to get it going, and it's still not perfect.
I was laughing a lot because you look as if you're between two worlds coming from the
Yep,
astro.
absolutely. I put the background picture because it's Taurus season, and it's all about financials and self-worth and doing what we love and nature. So at least that looks pretty if I don't look that good on that video.
Thank you, Victor. Can you introduce us to
Yeah.
the topic? Yeah.
So today we're going to be speaking about a little bit of a midheaven, and we're going to be looking at the IC as well, because I feel like actually plenty of us don't look at the IC when we want to be choosing the right career. And that is actually a huge mistake. But before we jump onto that, basically, if someone is not aware of what the MC means, then basically that's going to be the cusp of usually of your 10th house if you use Placidus house system. And then if you use whole sign house system, then basically it's just going to be between somewhere usually from the 8th house till the 11th, but sometimes it can be in the 12th and in the first house as well, depending on the place of birth. And that's going to be a vocational indicator in the chart. Now, the midheaven is always going to be describing the qualities you must possess if you want to be successful. And that's important to mention because the behavior you need to display, the behavior you need to actually embrace if you want to be successful. And the ruler of your midheaven will be the tools you need to use in order for you to gain that success, what you desire. Now, I usually say that the reason why we do need to look at the IC as well when we choose our career, because actually angles are dyads. So it means that it has got two parts. And usually when there is a change in one angle, it will affect the other one as well. So in astrology, we talk about polarities. That's why it's a mistake to look at only the 5th house, for instance. You should be looking at the 11th house as well. For instance, if you want to be talking about children or speculative businesses and so forth. And the midheaven is actually the middle of the sky. So it talks about the ultimate elevation point, basically. It talks about, you know, the highest possible version of yourself. And I usually say that the midheaven is very much associated with the sun rather than Saturn. And maybe some of you will look at me and Victor, you went crazy. The 10th house is associated with Saturn, which is true. But the midheaven is actually the point where the sun would be at midday, when the sun is the highest position in the sky. So therefore, I tend to be associating the midheaven energy with a little bit of a sun, but I'm going to come back onto that because I think I can share something interesting which not many people use, actually. So midheaven is the midheaven and the IC axis. I would describe that as a tree, basically. And the IC is going to be the roots of the tree, and the midheaven is going to be the branches of the tree. So basically, we can say that the midheaven is nothing else, but basically it's a call to leave the family roots behind. But it doesn't mean that we completely need to forget about that, because we're talking about dyads, which means that we're going to have a balance in those. So the IC is very much about the basement, the soil around the tree. And it really depends, you know, how big those branches are and how wide they go, whether the soil is going to be, you know, fruitful, or it's going to be feeding that tree very much. That's why IC is very much related to, for instance, the kitchen, alongside with the second house as well, because that's where the food is being made. That's where your mom and your family puts food on the table. So I feel like the challenge of the midheaven and the IC axis is very much about balancing out the kind of the blossoming in the society, but without leaving the past behind. And I'm going to tell you an example as well, how I imagine. But before we go into that, the midheaven should be, you know, a success point in the chart.
Mhm.
It could show you how you can gain recognition, what type of business you should be participating in. Basically, that's something to do with your CV, and whether it really depends on you, what you want to be having on your tombstone. Basically, that's what the midheaven is going to be describing to you, but it's going to tell you what your definition is about success and how you can receive social recognition, and what does reputation mean to you. In many cases, actually, it does talk about your early aspirations as well. Now, how I work with the midheaven. So, for instance, imagine that you've got your midheaven in Scorpio, let's say. So, firstly, as I said, we're going to have to embrace those qualities if we want to be successful. So, Scorpio is all about empowering others. So, that's going to be very important that you are going to be doing things which is somehow involving other people's needs, meaning that you are looking at their psychological assets. You want to be exploring their truth. You become a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes, and you ask people of, what they really want to be doing. So in order for them to be successful, they need to be able to dive into what others make happy as well. So they want to be merging with other people's motives. But on the other hand, they want to be living on the edges as well a little bit. So they might want to be interested in politics, psychology, or somehow the power struggle in the world as well. But they do need to use their charisma. They have to exhibit that. They need to understand that there is an element of sexiness around them, and they can really attract people. Scorpio pretty much talks about, the magnetic force around you. So you've got that charm, and then you have to display that, and eventually people will follow you. But the Scorpio midheaven does need to show vulnerability as well. So they sometimes might seem to be tough negotiators, but under their skin, they are a little bit of a softie. And once they are ready to actually display their vulnerability to others, then they're going to start attracting, let's say, those followers.
Oh my God, that's my midheaven is Scorpio. So everything.
Yeah, that's your midheaven, yes. But we also need to mention when Scorpio falls. So they fall far from reputation when they want to manipulate others, when they live on someone else's money, when they are completely inflexible, or when they stay in a job they hate, and they become resistant in group activities, or they wallow in self-pity and they rather create drama rather than actually trying to understand what is going on beyond the scenes. So, and another important point, as I said, is going to be the IC, because that's going to be the soil, that's going to be the roots you are bringing. And let's not forget, from a psychological point of view, you basically form 75% of your personality in the first 7 years of your life. And the Scorpio midheaven comes with a Taurian skill set. So in many cases, of course, it really depends on the where the ruler is of that Taurus. Is that in detriment, fall, and so forth? Does it get any hard aspects and or not? But usually they come from a safe but dependable, stable family. Usually they can count on each other, or they show extremely, they are very loyal to each other, or they might even be given the necessary tools to live. They have got very strong family values. They come from a comfortable lifestyle. But the problem with this Taurian energy is that they become way too comfortable, and Scorpio forgets to take risks, which is actually an investment sign. And if we really pick the investment part of Scorpio, there is no winning without taking any risks.
Mm.
So definitely Scorpio Midheaven needs to learn to invest time, money, and effort into something they want to achieve and getting out of their comfort zone. One of the reasons why I've chosen the Scorpio Midheaven, because we do have got Uranus going through at the moment Taurus. So many of those people are somehow wanted to get out of their comfort zone a little bit when it comes to their career choices as well. As I said, if the IC gets triggered, your 10th house gets triggered as well. Somehow these two are going to be affecting each other. But if we want to take a notch further, so if you want to figure out what career you should be doing, yes, we're going to be looking at where the ruler is of that midheaven, what type of aspects we have towards the midheaven. Do we have any special signature of the chart, such as a stellium, because that's like a life mission statement, and so forth. But as I said, the midheaven, in my opinion, is
Okay.
very much.
You're talking about the course you're doing on vocational astrology and finances. Yes, we can start.
Yes, so we're gonna be in the first 8 weeks. We're gonna be talking about finding the perfect job, and the last 8 weeks we're gonna be talking about the investment part of astrology. So financial, stock markets, financial cycles, real estate cycles, and all those important things,
And just
especially for those who want to invest, because Uranus is in Taurus and it wants us to kind of be independent when it comes to our money and how we deal with our money, what we put our money into.
And by the way, Victor has already formed one group, but he works in groups with that course. And whoever takes this course, one person, whoever Victor sees is, most aligned, most dedicated and talented, can come and work with us on the Astrology channel and become our vocational and financial astrologer. And I'm very interested personally in investment, so I'll be fascinating maybe to watch also your course. And Victor has been giving me a lot of advice on what to invest, bitcoins, gold, silver, and he's amazing at that.
I've been going through this in the last 1 year. When last year we started working with the Horary groups, we were doing plenty of investment charts, because this is a huge topic at the moment. And it's amazing what type of results we made with that, actually. So, I wouldn't even share this with others if we were not testing it with 70, 80 students last year. And we were actually tracking week by week how gold, silver, certain cryptos are changing, and astrology was spot on. So it's brilliant. But what I wanted to share before we go into an investment chart is that you want to always look at your midheaven sign, and then you want to be putting that together with your sun sign. So, because as I said, the midheaven, in my opinion, is associated with the sun, the highest point of the chart, which is actually the sun being in the middle of the sky, in the middle of the day. So, for instance, in your case, Lada, you've got Scorpio midheaven. So we already spoke about what type of traits you need to be having. But one of the tools you must use is your sun in the third house. And this is going to be giving you a full picture of what type of industry you fit in the most. So a Scorpio midheaven, which we said, let's say investments, then you should be investing into third house matters, which is maybe electronics, Of course, your sun is in Aries, which could also talk about goods.
Mhm.
But let's just stay on the investment part. So maybe that could be an indication of electronics or something which is even IT related, social media related,
Applications and
applications,
website.
mobile phones. So maybe if one day you wanted to leave astrology, you should be buying phones. You should be buying cars, especially sport cars,
Oh,
and
sport.
then making
Ooh,
some type of sales with those.
like one day I'm
Um,
here and I say, my dear friends, I'm leaving astrology. I'm going into the sports car industry.
well, maybe not
What I'm doing,
necessarily good news for plenty,
I'm doing
but just to
astrology app.
demonstrate.
I'm doing an astrology app, so that's pretty on. And third house is also blogging, communications. And you said Scorpio is empowerment. I try to empower people through this third house sun, which is astrology, communications, and
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe that third house plays a role in astrology anyway, because anyway, I'm not going to go into that now. And you must do the same with your IC as well. So if you want to be looking at what type of blockages you have in order for you to gain success, you look at your IC sign, which is in your case going to be Taurus, and you look at your moon placement, because the IC is your emotional needs. It's how you were nurtured. That's the emotional influence. So, and the moon is very much associated with fourth house energies. So you're gonna have to put together basically your Venus in Aries with the moon in Leo type of energy. And those could be some of the family blockages, for instance, what you bring in order for you to gain that success, what the Scorpio God's plan is kind of telling you. So if we start putting together, for instance, the Taurus and the Leo energy, we know that the two of them are squaring each other up. So straight away, there are some early kind of maybe comfortability, or maybe sometimes a little bit of a laziness as well with Taurus and Leo, that we need a kick butt. We need to get kicked in the butt to get, going, for instance, or maybe that Leo moon wanted so much glamour, and it forgot about the deeper meaning of life, which is Scorpio, to go as deep as possible and find my actually like inner motives and so forth.
That's exactly what kind of really messed up my first part of life. Wanting too much fun, Leo, too much glamour.
Yeah, too much fun, too much glamour. And, with that moon in the seventh house, maybe it's worth thinking about how relationship influence your career choices. So did they somehow hold you back, or did they actually, did they give you everything you needed, and therefore there was no need to push myself to get out of my comfort zone, which that Taurian element needs to learn. And
Because
by the way, there
I'm
is
so
some
distracted
things.
in relationships that I could not focus on career.
Yeah, makes sense. And this is going to be, there is a way to do that from the AC and the descendant as well, but I'm not going to go into that today because we want to be focusing more on the career aspects. So this is basically something which I'm going to be covering on Sunday. I think it's going to be a good 5-6 hours how to go about that. This is not going to be talking about aspects of the midheaven, because that's going to be the third class. In the second class, we're going to be talking about the midheaven ruler in each houses and signs and what type of career that could be indicating. Yeah, so that's one part of it, the first 8 weeks, when we are trying to kind of defining the best suitable career for the person and how we go about that. And then in the second part of it, we will be talking about investments. Now, where I'm going to be teaching a little bit of a Horary skills as well, but only from investment point of view. And we're going to be going through Saturn Jupiter cycles, financial Saturn Jupiter cycles for one reason, because that talks about business opportunities and what is going on in the world. How does that affect the market? We're going to be going through real estate, which is very much related to North Node and the South Node
Yeah,
energies.
tell us a little bit about that. You're fascinating.
So, um, the financial world, believe it or not, they use astrology to determine the best time for investments and so forth. And they started tracking in the last 150 years what happens in the real estate market. And one thing which came up very strongly was that usually when North Node is in the sign of Cancer, that's when there is a peak going on in the real estate industry.
Mhm.
So the peak actually was 2018, somewhere in November. That's when the real estate was blooming, and it was the most expensive kind of ever. And the North Node, South Node has got this 19 years cycle, 18 and a half, 19 years. So approximately about 20 years. And the previous one was somewhere in 1999 and 2000, 2001, when again the real estate was very bad. Now, when the South Node hits,
It was very good. You mean very bad, very good? Was very high priced.
yeah, I mean bad in a sense that it was way too expensive, yeah,
But currently,
to buy a property.
this year where we live, everything jumped with almost $100,000. It's incredible.
Yes, because at the moment, North Node and the South Node are in exaltation.
Um,
So that gives an element of boost.
Overestimated.
Yeah, it's
Overestimated.
overpriced. Exaltation means it's over the top. They put extra on it and so forth. But unfortunately, the real estate market, in my opinion, will significantly suffer in 2026 onwards for multiple reasons. But I'm going to come on to that in a second. And when South Node hits Cancer, which was, so that happens every 18 and a half, 19 years as well. So if we go back in time, that was in 2008 and 9, and then you can go back in the 90s and so forth. We know what happened in 2008 and 9, right? So we had a significant, not necessarily a drop, but the money you had to buy a property with was not as worthy as, for instance, like, so I hope it makes sense. So it doesn't mean that, let's say, a property costs 100,000 now, and 2008, let's say it was 20,000, but the 20,000 wouldn't be worthy for 20,000 at that time because the money was not too great.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, people didn't really have money as well, so they had to drop the prices also. So, and this has been tracked in what signs the real estate picks up a little bit and goes down a little bit, and where is the rock bottom, where is the peak of it. So I'm going to go through that too. Now, one of the reasons why I believe that there is going to be a declination happening with the real estate market for multiple reasons. One of them is Neptune will be having a conjunction with Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
And Neptune is very much connected to inflation and deflation. Now, Neptune has been doing fine in Pisces. It doesn't mean that it doesn't fluctuate, but it's still kind of a rulership. When we look at financial trends, we do need to use the modern rulers. And Neptune has got this 14-year cycle. So it means that the money the money and the world relationship changes approximately every 14 years. Now, I'm not going to go into the past If you want to look it up, anyone, then do so. But you will see beautiful correlation with Neptune. By the way, you might be wondering why Neptune. And it's Neptune because Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So if we wanted to speak about coins, then Venus would be the coin and the Neptune would be the note. And there is that saying that if you look after the pennies, the pound is going to come around. Meaning that if you really, focus on your Venus sign, eventually the Neptune can bring some great flow of money, income into your wallet. But Neptune talks about basically the plenty of money type of thing. So that's something to do with the assets of the world. Yeah, so we're going to go through those cycles as well. We're going to explore them just to see how we get influenced. But I do believe that Neptune-Saturn conjunction plus Neptune is going to be going in the sign of Aries, which is a fire sign. And therefore, it means that the money gonna get burnt. So, and then Saturn puts a restriction onto it. So I am expecting a economic crisis between 2026 to 2028.
Okay, wow. But we're
And I
already
think
in
it's
one.
going to be bigger than this year.
Okay. We're already in one, so it's gone. Maybe that's when they scrap all the money, all the notes.
Maybe actually, but unfortunately, I've done a little bit of a research about pandemics recently. I went through the 20 most important pandemics, and 18 out of 20 had Neptunian influence.
Oh, so that will be the actual pandemic then?
Yes, in my opinion, yes. Neptune, whenever there was a pandemic, Neptune either was squaring or opposing Saturn or Jupiter. One of those two.
That makes sense, absolutely. That would be a true kind of way more serious, probably. And with money, like you said, because you said Neptune is inflation, deflation. If this happens, maybe we still have like 4 or 5 years to prepare. Guys, have your food supplies and try to be independent and try to, to kind of prepare for this time, because this is a decade that's crazy. It's one after another. It started with 2020 and it's not.
Yes, when as soon as Neptune went into the sign of Pisces, since then we had actually 4 pandemics. So we had the Ebola, now we've got the COVID and so forth. So, and another thing is that, we are saying that we are on the border of the Aquarius and the Pisces era, right? So meaning that actually, if that's true, then Neptune is in its own it's in its own decan at the moment. So that Neptunian energy is very amplified. By the way, we're going to be talking about decans as well in the class, because when you have got, let's say, a Scorpio Midheaven, then the decan means that basically the sign is broken into 3 10-degree segment. Yeah. And the first 10 degree is always the original sign. So in case of Lada, that would be Scorpio. And the next 10 degree would be ruled by the next water sign, which would be Pisces. And then the third 10 degrees, so basically from 20 to 30, that would be the third following water sign. And in her case, that would be Cancer. So she also needs to have Cancerian traits in her career if she wants to be successful. And she does need to look at where the moon is of that decan's ruler, which is in the 7th house. So basically that means that with that Cancerian energy, Lada needs to be able to nurture others, needs to be able to, let's say, pick talents, right? And also the ruler is in Leo, so she needs to take a worldly stage, and she needs to be in front of public, and she needs
Spotlight.
to be dealing with customers, and she needs to be basically the face of a business. The reason why the face of the business, because the seventh house is very much about how you kind of portray yourself towards the customer. So the customer service belongs to the seventh house in a sense. And, I would say that when you want to be choosing the right career for yourself, like companies do, they have got a vision statement. They have got a business statement going on. So why don't we do that individuals? And I think that's where we fail in many cases when we want to achieve success, but we don't have the vision, we don't have the statement, what we stand for. And that's exactly what your midheaven and the IC axis will be talking about, what type of statement you should be making. Yes, so that's one part of it. And the next part, which I wanted to show an interesting example, is we asked the question whether we should invest into gold.
Oh, you used Horary. Horary.
Yes, and I did use Horary, which we're gonna be going through in the course as well, just from an investment perspective. Now, investment belongs to the second house in Horary. And I can say that surely now because basically I'm in a Facebook group where 7 Horary astrologers discuss charts. And this was an argument for a year. Because the traditional textbooks say that it's a 10th house meta because it's a business. But it didn't really make sense to me because the traditional textbooks say that silver and gold belongs to the second house for surely. So I was like, if the second house if silver and gold belongs to the second, then the cryptocurrency should belong there as well, because basically you turn your money into a asset.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then we started testing it, 7 of us, for a year, and then we came up with the conclusion that it's second house meta. So I'm quite certain about that now. What we do here is we're going to be looking at the ruler of that second house, which is Venus. And Venus is placed in Pisces on 3 degrees. Now, if I look at that Venus, we can see in the essential dignity table that it has got exaltation and it has got a turn position. Now, it means that it's approximately about 110% strong at the moment. However,
asking the questions, yes.
Yeah, so if I should invest into gold, if it's too strong, there is no point in investing because it means that it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So this chart straight away told me not to.
Mm-hmm.
But when is it? Pardon?
It was as easy as that.
No, it's not that easy because we know that Venus moves on and it's going to be losing its turn position. And when it's losing its turn position, it means that the price will drop. So if we go on to the essential dignity table, I've already brought that up, but then I had to restart the computer because of the camera. So if you bring up the Ptolemy version, you go on the Piscean line, you will be able to see that Venus' turn position is up till 8 degrees. So Venus currently is on 3. It means that in 5 units time, actually, Venus will lose its turn position, which means that the price is going to be dropping. Now, whether it's 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, I'm not going to go into those details. It might be a little bit complicated for many, but I will be teaching that as well. But in 5 unit time, it's going to be dropping. And also, as soon as Venus moves into moves closer to the sun, it's gonna get burnt. So that was another indication to me that gold is gonna be dropping.
Mhm.
Now, I remember we spoke about this actually, and then I told you that within 6 days, it wasn't this chart, it was a different one. Within 6 days, there is going to be a drop in Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
And exactly within 6 days, there was a crash in the crypto
Yeah.
field, and I think Tesla lost plenty of money. Yeah, we did that in the Horary class as well, and we said, yes, somewhere on the 26th on top of my head, there is going to be a crash, and on that day, there was a crash.
Wow. And this thing, this chart about the gold, has it happened already or not?
Yes, the gold started dipping. So it started losing its strength, actually. I think it dropped about $200 already in March.
Okay, so that chart was from February 28th. So it was
Yeah,
probably,
so towards the end of March, there was drops there.
so it was about 5 days almost when it started. Or
No, it was almost 5 weeks.
okay, 5 weeks. Yeah.
It's less than 5 weeks. By the way, it's 4 weeks because it's almost on 4
Ah, yeah.
degrees.
Venus is the Taurus.
So 4 weeks later, exactly, it started dropping.
Wow.
Now, how often we can do these type of charts? As soon as the circumstance has changed, meaning that once it's dropped and we know it's dropped,
Yeah.
then we can erect a new chart, and it's kind
Okay.
of free of charge for yourself. So I've been doing this. You will say how many charts I have got about investment because I started investing. So I've got investment, crypto, gold, crypto again gold, silver. So I'm going through all these and I've got plenty more. So, and then I'm tracking them and seeing how the market is changing and what's worth investing into.
Wow. And but there is, like you saw for the property with the transits of planets, you can see not just with horary charts. So there is ways also to track. Okay, we've discovered ways to track gold and silver and Bitcoin by transits themselves. So transits to the chart.
Oh yeah, surely. Yes, I did. The silver is very much related to moon, and the gold is very much going to be related to the sun. Now, any type of harder or positive aspects influencing that, but it's a little bit more complicated. So I definitely recommend, you know, take the class if you know about signs, aspects, planets, and houses.
Mhm.
Those are going to be very crucial, and it's also worth knowing a little bit about transits as well, even though I'm going to go through some of those in the class, because the first 8 weeks probably it's going to be something which you can pick up easily, but then after we're going to be looking at companies charts, and we're going to be looking at how transit and progression and solar arc affected them. So there needs to be a little bit of a technical knowledge for those who want to participate.
Wonderful. Yes, it's kind of like more like an intermediary.
Yes, it's an intermediate one. Of course, once you have finished the course, you can work with Lada as a financial kind of astrologer. So you do need to have some type of knowledge. This is definitely not for the beginners. If the beginners are interested in some of the classes, then they will be able to buy them separately as well,
Yes,
just like
you're
for
offering
instance.
the Midheaven class separately, so you don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can. It's on Saturday, so if anyone wants.
Sunday, yeah.
Sorry,
Sunday, 6 p.m. Sofia, Bulgaria time.
what day is that? April 26th, something like that.
25th.
25th. Okay. Oh, you can
25th.
watch it after that, or you can.
Yeah, it
Have,
is going to be recorded as well. Yeah, 25th, yeah.
okay, wonderful.
Yeah, so pretty much this is what I've planned to share for today. And this is the first part of it. We're going to be going through that on Sunday, just to see some of the blockages and how to activate your IC and MC in your chart to gain more fulfilling life, basically.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Victor. You can stop sharing my chart. I feel naked
Oh,
in
yeah,
my house.
sorry. personal data protection, right?
Right, as if.
It's
Thank
not like no one knows it, right?
you. Like my whole private life is in the public, moon in the seventh, nothing hidden.
Yeah, but remember that Scorpio does need to reveal their vulnerability. One of the best ways is to share your chart.
Thank you so much, Victor. I learned so much from you, and fascinating what's ahead. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think some rough times may be ahead of us, and it's a little bit scary. But I don't want to scare anyone. My intention is more about preparing people for an upcoming change rather than want to stress you out.
yeah.
So remember that anything is possible. COVID gave plenty of people to an opportunity to grow,
Mhm.
but especially those who recognize the possibilities in that. And that's what your Midheaven and IC is very good for, to figure out, the ways actually you can survive in these hard times. So yeah, and this is not going to be the first time when we have a hard time. This is history. History repeats itself.
Like when someone says, imagine if you're born at the beginning of the 20th century and lived through two world wars, the the
Exactly.
flu there, it was Spanish flu.
And I'm quite optimistic anyway that now Pluto going retrograde, I think the virus is going to be less deadly. Um, so I'm quite optimistic that things are going to be looking up a little bit at least, especially with Jupiter going into Pisces as well, which it has got its danger as well anyway. But at least, I'm hoping that Pluto is going to be helping the humankind by going retrograde.
Well, yeah, let's at least save the summer and then
Yes.
again
Yes.
back to. Oh, thank you so much, Victor, for sharing, and have a lovely week ahead. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for the knowledge. Bye bye.
Thank you very much and see you soon, everyone. Bye.